Welcome back to my channel where I am documenting my fibromyalgia journey, and this is part 4. I left off where I had found out that I was pregnant in my first year, 3-4 months into my PhD, and my pregnancy was normal. I had 3 months morning sickness, and then the rest of it was fine. I had a fast, quick, easy delivery. My baby was here. I had an okay first 6 months of life because I was able to stay home with her every other day, and then after she turned 6 months, then I went back to the lab full time every day, sometimes for 12 hours. She was not sleeping through the night yet because she was still under a year old, waking up with a wet diaper and wanting milk, that kind of thing. And I slowly began to become very fatigued. On top of the headache, costochondritis, dyspepsia, and lower pain in my right side, my knee, the floating pain, and I had broken my arm 2 years previous, and that was still hurting even after 2 surgeries. I started to feel very fatigued in the morning when I woke up. And along with the fatigue came brain fog. So when I complained about this, people were just like, oh, it's mom brain, you have mom fog, or something to that effect. And I thought, oh, okay, well, you know, maybe it's true. Everybody's saying that that's what it is. Later, I started waking with the jaw pain, and the joints in my thumbs were very stiff in the morning, as well as my big toe. Progressively, this got worse, and all my fingers and toes started to get stiff in the morning, and it was so hard to pick myself up off the ground. That first step began to be so excruciating, and I would just be like a zombie, like all day, you know, at least for the first half of the day, and then I just, you know, slowly got into my groove. This caused a lot of problems in the lab that I was in. I wasn't able to function, and I was kicked out of that lab. And then I made a hard transition into another one. Those are some really terrible times. Moving on to my daughter being about 2 years old now, she got the conjunctivitis. I caught it from her, and I thought, okay, this is going to be a couple of weeks and I'll be back. I wasn't back in a couple of weeks. It lingered for more than 2 weeks, to the point that the eye doctor's like, you know what, you should come see me every day until this gets better. And so I started visiting him every day, and this went on about 4 weeks. Finally, he removed my conjunctiva, and that started improving my condition. And he's like, I've never seen this before. Maybe you should go see another doctor, check your immune system, because this is not normal. I went to a few different doctors. Actually, I went to 2 different doctors to check my immune system, and they said I was fine. So I'm like, okay, maybe I was just tired, you know? Mom brain. I continued having trouble focusing. I started having a lot of anxiety, depression. The brain fog increased. It was like if somebody else was controlling my body, and I couldn't think or do or operate the way that I know that I was, and I was like trapped in the body. So much so that people would start making comments like, wow, you look tired, or oh, you should smile more. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, like, I barely got out of bed this morning. Everything hurts right now. The last thing I want to do is smile more. My eyes got better, but it just wasn't the same. It got easily irritated every time I would wash my face with just water, or the wind would blow on me, you know, some kind of way. And I was like, okay, so now we're adding this to the list of things that are wrong with you, but nothing is wrong with you. Later on, about the time my daughter was between 3 and 4 years old, I started having mouth sores, and they would recur, and they would get better, and in a week they would be back. I thought this was strange because there was no other symptom that would suggest like a specific disease, you know, other than just a mouth sore. My husband had started making me some ginger tonic, and we started eating aloe vera, and that really helped with some of the dyspepsia that I was having and some of the depressive moods that I was having. So we thought, oh, maybe we need to just start eating better, you know, but as a PhD student, you're making very little money, and it's hard to do that for an extended period of time. And by now, I had already been 5 years in. I went to the dentist to see about my jaw pain. He looked in my mouth and he's like, oh, you're fine. Aside from the fact that your teeth are now spaced out more than they were 2 years ago, you don't have anything wrong with you. If you want to fix your teeth, we can do that, and maybe that will eliminate your jaw pain, but there is nothing wrong with your bone structure. I said, I have no money for braces, so I'll be back. I decided to go to the general physician to see about these recurring symptoms that I have been having. So I drew a body form on a piece of paper, and I will link that below. And I wrote all of the symptoms that I was having: headache, forgetfulness, anxiety, depression, moodiness, irritability, brain fog, laryngitis, like so much so that I couldn't speak for like a week or two, mouth sores, sinusitis, rhinitis, allergies, and then I just went down the list: costochondritis, joint pain, stiffness in the joints, dyspepsia, frequent urination, bowel problems, and I just went down each of them one by one, and I probably came up with over 50 or 60 symptoms. I gave it to her and I said, this is what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm here not to ask you to diagnose me, but to send me to the person who can, because I don't know who to go to anymore. She did some tests to make sure that I wasn't having any organ problems, and they were fine. So she's like, okay, I'll send you to the endocrinologist. This sounds hormonal. I get there, he looks at all the things, and he's like, let's rule out fibromyalgia. And he did some more tests, checked my liver, kidney function, and all of that, and those were fine too. He's like, okay, I think you should go to the rheumatologist. I went to the rheumatologist, and she looks at everything, and I couldn't go to her at first on my own because she was always booked, and so I couldn't have gotten to her without the endocrinologist making that referral for me. When I got there, she did some more tests, and by the time I went back to get the results for this test, I was in full-blown allodynia, and she could see this. Like, I was scratching, I had hives all over my body. I was a mess. I knew I was a mess. I looked like a mess, and she said, looking at all of these symptoms and your test results, you don't have any organ issues, you don't have lupus, you have fibromyalgia. And it was like the room dropped for like 10 seconds, and I looked at her like I wanted to cry, because here I was relieved that there was a word for it and I wasn't going crazy. There was something that I could call this instead of what is wrong with me, what's happening, my whole life is going out of control. And then on the other hand, you just told me that I would be in pain for the rest of my life, that I will be a prisoner in my body for the rest of my life. So she asked me if I could come see her for a follow-up visit, and I said yes. She said, don't tell me you can if you can't. I said, yeah, I promise I will come. What is it? She gives me 7 days worth of amitriptyline, 10 milligrams per day, and she's like, this is some medicine I'm going to give you, just a little bit, and it's just small medicine. She told me some side effects She let me go, and I came home. And I cried. Because I feel like at that time my life was stolen from me, and the quality of my life would be so incredibly reduced. There was nothing that I could do about my illness, and there was nothing that I could do about the stress that was happening around me in terms of what was happening in my workplace. It was just like I felt so lost and out of control, and you know, as a student I was like, this is like the worst experience of my life. I finished all of these 6 years of doing my PhD. I have no paper yet. The money is really bad. The place I live in is like not my favorite. And then here you are, like giving me some disease that I'm going to have for the rest of my life, and it's like not like it waxes and wanes, you know. You are just constantly in pain the whole time, like all the time. And nobody understands this, and they just think you're complaining and like you're being difficult when it takes you like 2-3 hours to wake up in the morning, you know. So I contemplated taking the pills because I hadn't slept for a long time properly through the night. But I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole again, because I had been there twice in my life where I had been controlled by medicine that I felt like really didn't help me. It just gave me more symptoms of different kind. And so I started researching about my condition, and that's when my life changed. And that brings me to the end of part 4 of my fibromyalgia journey. I want to thank you for being here with me through all the 4 parts. It has really been good for me to speak about what has been happening to me, because I had no avenue or anything like that, and sharing my journey really helps me, it's like my therapy, you know. So however you got here, thank you, and I appreciate you stopping by. If you like these 4 parts of my fibromyalgia story, please give me a thumbs up. If you have your own story and you would like to share it, please leave a comment. And if you want to continue to follow my channel and see exactly how my life changed, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss when I post a new video. And until then, live your best life. Bye.